still 2 seats in front.
Come on. Where?
Just here. I can move my little bit closer to the
There you go, there you go. Oh. Thanks for coming, everyone. Woo. Woo. Yes, please. It's an honor again to host the event, this time at CP+B, which we start by thanking a lot to host and to give booze and to have Dave. So thank you, CP+B, of course. It's the 7th. How many of you were at any of the previous ones? Okay. What about new ones? Oh, so here we go. Every time.
Yeah.
So let me start by introducing what this group is all about. This gentleman over here, Joel, 6 to 7 months ago, he approached me with this idea of bringing international creatives together in a city that, of course, lives and breathes its diversity and its the fact that it's multicultural and brings so many people, so many different people together to do different things and bring all the passions together. And he came to me and said, I have an idea on it. I'm always gonna do this joke.
Please do.
Brad, I have an idea. And I was like, yeah, please tell me. And I was like, I think we should bring people together because this city really deserves this, and it doesn't really live up to the fact that yes, we're all together, but what does that really mean, right? We are all Londoners, but then you have Brits and you have Italians and you have Portuguese and Brazilians and German and Japanese, but yes, what does that mean? So let's celebrate that. But more than celebrate, we thought that we should also help newcomers to just learn how to navigate the cultures, learn how to give the first steps when they come to London, who to call, where to go, how to mingle, the nuances of the culture. And ultimately, that's what we really are about. It's about helping you guys to just mingle, to just learn how to be part of the culture, enrich it ultimately, and from the exchange, become better creators. Not just us, but also English people. And this is another point that I always like to refer. The whole idea of the International Creatives London group is not that it's us versus them. That's not it. The whole that's the whole speech. It is us against them. No, it's not. It's really all about working together and bringing our own experiences, our own expertise, our own backgrounds, and enrich everything that we're doing here, and hopefully make a global impact, or UK impact, or London impact, or Shoreditch impact. It doesn't matter. Or Joel's Place impact. So this is what the group is really all about. And right now we're doing some side projects to promote the group. We're really trying to put our name out there. We've had a lot of press coverage. Of course, it's a topic of the moment, the whole Brexit thing. We're not really going into that direction because we still need to kind of establish ourselves. But in the future, again, it's a hot topic. You cannot escape from the situation. And more than ever, creativity needs to be borderless. Needs to come up from a place that is really genuine and human, and it doesn't really matter if you're from Japan or Argentina. It has a human factor to it that is just undeniable. So that's the group. On to tonight's speaker. Am I right? Dave, sort of a superstar legend. He hates these sort of things, but when I came to London 3 years ago, I was like, shit, I need to work with that man. And I really wanted to go to Karmarama, which he founded. And I tried to reach him out and didn't really have success. And then I started to work at another agency. But before Karmarama, founded St. Luke's, had a lot of success with both agencies. And I don't know if you're aware, but CP+B, maybe 2 years ago, had a rough time. And there was no one better than to bring it back from the ashes than probably this man over here. Some trivia. He's been dead for 5 minutes. He was dead. So the whole resurrection theme, it's an ongoing thing.
My kids actually think I'm technically a zombie. So
Oh yeah, exactly.
Came back to life.
What else? You played cricket for Italy.
As bullshit as that sounds, it's true.
The country.
Yeah.
No, it's for the country. Yeah.
Wow. He has no problems whatsoever to sell his art using his little kids. So that's all.
Yeah, one of the bonus of having children is you get to work. It's an immigrant thing.
Yeah, you should all know.
You don't have but you know where I'm from.
So please, everyone, give it up to Dave.
Okay, so I just want to say hello and thank you for coming. I know it's a kind of what day is it today? Tuesday night. So it's not a big going out night, but just say thank you for coming. Also, just wanted to say thank you to these two for inviting me to this event because we bumped into each other. Well, we bumped into each other a few times, haven't we?
Yeah.
Historically over the years, and I just think it's very interesting. To be honest, I never really knew about it. When I started checking it out, I thought there's something very interesting. And I kind of absolutely ditto all the comments that you made earlier about the importance of what you're trying to achieve in the business. But I want to talk more about the role that you can play in making our business better here, right now, because it's not great, I don't think. That's our logo. It's an elephant. I'll explain the little story behind that later on. That's my name. That's how you say it. The Italians will get it easy. It's a real problem throughout my 52 years of trying to fucking tell everybody my name, repeat it again and again. But career-wise, this is where I started. I started at TWA. Interestingly, I think it was one of the last truly great European agency. It was started by an American, 3 Europeans, who all had a very kind of loose basis on the way that they wanted to work. They had a lovely system over here, which was when it got to about 30 people, when it was billing about 30 or 40 million, they'd open up another agency. It wouldn't get bigger than that. They always wanted to stay relatively small and have lots of satellites. And I thought that was a really interesting model. And I started there back in like the mid-80s, 84. But it gave me a really insight into the way that that you can work with people and the way that you can create a very strong culture that still allows you to do great work, but not have ambition to grow bigger than, especially when you come to some of the bigger agencies now, thousands, which is, I don't think, a great environment for creative work. But I think that's also because most agencies now aren't about creative work, they're about making money for the 2 fucking blokes who own them. And that's another story. Then I went to WCRS, which was a very unpleasant experience. I went there for 2 years, but I think also when you work in a place that you don't like, you learn a lot more in working for places you don't like than you do in places that you do like. Then I got a chance to work at HHCL, which sadly doesn't exist anymore. It was a great agency in the sort of late 80s. I was employee number. Well, my 2 bosses used to work there. They left to set up HHCL, and a month later they took me and my partner with them. And it was a great place to go and work when there were like 5 people, above a record store in Dean Street. It was like desperate times, but the most exciting, the kind of environments that I've really thrived on, because since then, all of these other agencies, bar JWT, have all been startups, and I have whether it's a curse or I have some strange ability to always want to work in a startup because it's much more invigorating, much more dangerous, much more fun. I went to JWT for a couple of years just to try and see the kind of things that you learn in a very small place when there's 6, 10, 15, 20 people. When you grow up in a very small environment like that, then go to somewhere like JWT where they have a separate floor for the creatives, which I've never ever experienced, apart from maybe at WCRS. I found that quite interesting, and it was fascinating to take some of the things you learn in a very small place about how you work together with people, how you collaborate. God forbid you collaborate. You you're fun, you bring lots of energy, you bring enthusiasm, you want to work on different things. I think they're kind of natural things that you'd want to bring to any party. At JWT, it was the complete opposite. I don't know what it's like now, but it was like a gentleman's club. I remember on the first day I got there, I turned up at 8:15 because I'm an immigrant, and I think that, well, immigrant son, and you always turn up early, because if you don't, then somebody might complain and you get sent back on a plane. When I turned up at JWT, there was nobody around. It was like walking into a library, and I got there, and the security guard said, "What are you doing here?" And I said, "I've come in to work." "What do you mean, what am I doing here?" And he says, "Why are you here now?" And I said, "Because this is where we work, and I've been employed, and it's my first day." He said, "No, I mean, why are you here at 8:15? I said, "Fucking hell, what time does it start around here?" He says, "Oh, no, I'll be in till 10. I said, "Well, can you tell me where my office is?" He went from creative floor, third floor. So I was like, "Oh, it's one floor." So I went up, sat in this room, and seriously, nobody turned up until 10. And at 1 minute past 10, we heard ting, 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 the lifts going. As we arrived on the third floor, people just marched in. And I thought there was a wonderful opportunity because it was an unbelievably lazy agency. They were really, really arrogant, very lazy, didn't really do any good work. And I just went in there with a very abusive mindset, which was I'm going to go in there, I'm going to take everything I want to do, and I'm going to fuck everybody else up. And it was it sounds bad, but I was trying to be very selfish, because my point of view was if somebody can go to JWT and do good work, nobody ever does good work at JWT, nobody ever did good work at JWT. My thing was, could you go there, do some good work, and then run away? And it was more to sort of prove to myself something. I'd split up with a partner that I was working with here, just wanted to try something different. And again, I think you learn a lot about working in places that are not what you want to do. I went back to HHCL, strangely, for about 8 months, and then when we were very young, we got an opportunity to run the London office of Child Day, which was a great American agency. Similarly to this agency, they tried about 4 or 5 different setups of management, and it hadn't worked. They'd had some American teams over, and they couldn't quite get the London thing. When we went there, me and my partner, Naresh Ramchandani, who's Indian, he's like me, born in London, but from Indian parents. Me and him went there, we were like 28 at the time, so it was like their last flick of the dice. I think they tried everybody, and it was an opportunity to try something new, see what happened, and if it didn't work, they were going to close it, and if it did work, it would be happy days for everybody. We did it for about 2 years, and we started doing quite well, and then we got a good buzz going, started winning business, started doing some nice work, and then ironically, we got sold to TBWA. And that's when we found out that in Europe, TBWA was good. You know, they had Trevor Beatty at the time, it was a big agency, they were doing really well. In the States, TBWA didn't exist, and I remember we went down to a bizarre all-agency meeting. They called us, I got the phone call on the Sunday saying we've just been sold. And I said, what does that mean? And we just went, it's bad. Put the phone down. I was like 30, wow, I was living the dream, and then suddenly it's all going to be taken away. We went in the following day to a meeting in a hotel where they had this sort of big screen where they had this live feed. And Jay Chaya, who was the founder, was there, and he was going, this is great news for the States because TBWA is non-existent in Europe, and now they're going to, we'll take over the Child Day TBWA name in the States. And then it went on, and everyone was blowing smoke up each other's asses, and it was all very nice. And then somebody just went, what about London? And then the feed just went dead. All right, well, we all looked at each other and went, it's not going to be good. So, and the story was that we would have got swallowed up, or they would have taken all our accounts, and they would have spat us out. So we just went, fuck it, we're not going to do it. We don't want to be part of this deal. In fact, ironically, a lot of the clients that we'd won, we pitched against TBWA. And so we phoned up the clients, and did it with a guy called David Abraham, who's now the chief exec of Channel 4. Very, very, very smart guy. And we just basically, he went to all the clients and said, look, you don't want to work with TBWA, you'd rather work with us. Do you want to come with us? We're going to do something new. And they all said, if you can guarantee the same people on my business on Monday as they were on Friday, we'll do it. And we were like really, really young. I mean, I was 30. The average age of the agency was probably 25. And a lot of people we didn't have a fucking clue what we were doing, but we all just said, fuck it, we're not going to be part of this deal. We pissed off Child Day, we pissed off TBWA, we took all the clients, we ran away, literally, we found an office space up the road that was free for 2 years. And we moved 30 people and all the business we had into there. And then the first thing was, we don't want to call it after the 5 white guys that ran it, because every agency is the same, it's all just white men's trophies. So we named it St. Luke's, and I remember everyone thought we were retarded idiots for calling it like a hospital. Why did you do that? It's just stupid. But there was a reason behind it, because we liked working as brand turnaround, so we liked to take clients and fix sick clients, was the story. And St. Luke is the patron saint of artists and doctors, so he cures people creatively. That was the rationale behind it. But it was a great idea. At first, it was a cooperative. It was like, taking Buddhism and communism, my two favourite religions, together. A little bit of fascism thrown in, but kind of everything. And it was basically taking those two concepts and putting them together, and it worked brilliantly, especially in a very capitalist world like advertising. Did that for about 4 years. And then it became something I didn't really want to do anymore. And I've always had this mentality: I don't ever want to sit still and suffer. I don't think we should do that. As humans, you should be, especially as creative people, you should be safe and happy and expressing yourselves at all times. And the minute you feel fucked off, do something about it. In the same way that if you're in any relationship, the minute you feel pissed off with your partner, you do something about it. You act. And I've always been like that with my work. And I got a chance to be a client and work at Channel 4, which was, for me, a very interesting brand. And we set up the internal office for creative, which was quite interesting as well. So they'd never had marketing or advertising in-house before, and we took it all in-house. And then, the greatest brand in the world, like advertising the 16 best projects in the world, which are the greatest TV shows in the world at the time, was a fantastic thing to do. Did that for 2 years, and then in 2000 set up Panorama. Went through a whole gamut of changes. Me and Naresh again, so the guy I did HHCL Chai Day and St. Luke's with. And then in 2014, I just became miserable beyond belief, because I'm sure you all do it. I'm sure you do that thing. And I always used to do it in January when I go back to work, and I'd sit down and then sit up and look around and go, do I like all the people? Do I like what I'm doing? Do I like where we're going? Do I like the vibe? And it was the first time in 14 years when I thought, fuck it, I can't stand any of this shit. And it had become very big and very uncaring. Didn't have any of the same values that I had. And it was once my agency, wasn't it, when I left. But it's you take it very personally, and I wanted to make sure that I was happy. And I think it was also because I hit 50, and I suddenly thought I've got a few years ahead of me that I've got behind me. I don't want to keep. I don't want to go in there, experience one more miserable day. It was very important to me to be happy, which is something I think a lot of us don't think about. And it's pretty interesting for you guys, because you've come from other places, so there's been some risk in what you've done. There's been some challenge in what you've done, pretty a lot of challenge in what you've done. I look at my parents who came over from Italy and Denmark. They came over with very little, and they had a dream. They had something that they wanted to achieve. And I think I look back at that and thought, God, I want to feel that ambition. I want to feel that happiness and that drive and that vision. And I wasn't feeling it. So I remember I said to my wife, what can I do? And she said, well, we worked out 3 options. One was to go mad very quickly and kill a load of people, go to jail. I don't want to do that again. And then the other one was, go mad very slowly and just sit there and turn into a veg. Or it was just fucking walk away. And it was a very satisfying, very easy thing to do in the end, was to walk away. Then I had a year where I wasn't allowed to work, and I was an artist, screen printing, and then I was really sick of advertising, and I came in here and I met the guys here. I knew about CP+B because of Chuck Porter, who's obviously the founder. He tried to buy Panorama back in 2005, so I knew him. But I had the conversation I had was with the elephant. When I came in, I said, what the fuck's with the elephant? And the guys here said, basically in 1870, when P.T. Barnum, who was the circus dude, would bring the circus into town. The circus was the only thing that it was like TV in those days, it was everywhere. And every time they brought a circus into town, they'd stick all these posters up saying, a picture of an elephant or a tiger or a clown, and they'd have a date with the name of the circus, and there'd be a date when it was arriving. And no one ever took the posters down. And what he did was, he just used to walk an elephant through town, and then put the posters up afterwards saying what time it was on. And I think it was a very clever way of turning a brand story into action. And this is one I think this is what advertising should be doing. This is the role of advertising. And interestingly, all the agencies I'd set up, certainly HHCL was kind of groomed on the Chart Day way of working, which is very similar to the CP+B way of working. St. Luke's bounced off that, Full Creative, Panorama, all of them feel like CP+B is now the culmination of all the things that I've ever worked on. And so for me, it sort of strangely, it actually feels like coming home, because now I can build and work with some incredible people. As you said earlier, it's gone through quite a lot of change over the last 2 years, pretty catastrophic actually. I think there's a massive opportunity to create an agency that's very fit for purpose right now, which I think for me is the exciting thing. It's an absolute startup, but a huge amount of fun, and we're starting to go in the right direction. I think it will be a couple of years before we're kind of at ramming speed, but I think it's all going very well. we talked about Brexit. I don't want to go into that too much, but it's a kind of curious time to be here. And the world, I don't know what the fuck is happening right now. 2 weeks ago I was in Turkey the day after it got attacked. I was expecting the airport, the meeting to be cancelled. It's happened at 10 o'clock at night. I was having a meeting at 6 o'clock the following day. And then the meeting's still going ahead. Come in. You go into the airport, all the windows are shot in, the ceilings have all fallen down. I mean, it's literally, it just happened. Now the same shit's going on in Turkey. There's a lot of weird instability, but I don't think that's any different from what's happening in the industry right now. I think the industry is all over the place. It doesn't really know what it's supposed to be doing. And there are kind of big things that we need to start thinking about. And ultimately, I think that the product isn't good enough. I don't want to be one of these guys who sort of goes, hey, it was great in the 80s. I don't think it was great in the 80s. I think there's a lot of abuse going on in the 80s with our clients' money. And I'm quite pragmatic and old-fashioned in the way that I like to think that we are a service to our clients. I'll come on to this a little bit later on, but I think that the work is really, really substandard. I went to, and I know we still judge ourselves by awards, I went to an award ceremony recently first time in 30 years. Never, in fact, we go back to, from HHC, I'll probably Chite Day, St Luke's, Kamaraman. We never entered awards. It was the founding principle of the agency was never to enter creative awards because I think it creates a different agenda. And I went to this awards thing, which is supposed to reward great work. Award ceremonies have become about money now. They're not about anything else. And I went to this thing, and it was the weirdest night because I thought the work was properly bad. It was the kind of thing that 20 years ago, if you'd done it, you probably would have been fired. Whereas now you're going up to collect awards, and it becomes this weird thing where you're watching a slow degradation. It's like Faces of Meth. When you see the woman in 1987 and then you see her in 1995, the gradual change isn't hardly noticeable, but when you see one to the other, it's like, fuck. And I haven't been for 30 years. And there was a guy on stage going, we do the best work in the world, and you guys are the best guys. And everyone was going, woo, and throwing champagne and cocaine around. I was sitting there like I was in a horror film, thinking, what the fuck is everybody going on about? And no one seems to realise. And a big part of it is because I think we've forgotten our role. We're a service. Our clients employ us to make their business better. They want smart people like you guys working on their business. When I was a client, all I wanted was the smartest people in the place. Anywhere I could get them, I want those smart people working on my business. What's happened is creativity has become corrupted because suddenly it's like, it's not about what real people think, it's not about what our clients think, it's about what 12 people sitting on a jury think, which is a very old-fashioned way of looking back to the past. And I remember being at Hal Henry and seeing Steve Henry trying to do interesting work. He was one of the partners, trying to do interesting work, and then he would never win awards or it would get criticised in the campaign, and he'd be spitting feathers for like 2 or 3 days. What the fuck do these arseholes know? And I'm thinking, why do you want to ask their opinion? If you're looking over there trying to do interesting work, why would you want to look back to history to get them to recognise it? It doesn't make any sense. You're just wasting your money. And I think this whole creative circus around awards has really, really corrupted the industry, and it's not true to what we should be doing, and not true to, I think, what you guys probably want to be doing, which is to be an asset to your clients, so you can use your fucking smart heads and your brilliant thinking and your collaboration to work with other people to transform their business, because that's what they genuinely want to pay you for. And as a result, when you go to the big agencies, creativity is just another thing on a column which they're just trying to reduce the price on. I'm sure, how many of you have been involved with pitches where procurement come in and they tell you how much money you should be spending, how you should be doing something. I mean, it's like real painting by numbers now. And it's because we've got not so much information, but we've lost all of our inspiration and all of our attitude into how we convince our clients or how we work closely with our clients to make sure that they understand what we're trying to do is the right thing for them. Because we've been fucking all wrapped up in awards. When a client comes in and you go, this is an award-winning ad, I go, when I was a client, I was like, so fucking what? It's not about my business, it's about your business. I want you to go, this piece of work is going to smash it. And you're going to make so much money, you're going to transform what people think of your brand. Not, it's going to win an award, because that's only for you. And that seems to be still the only way that we can judge our work, which is, I think, a really big problem. We need to sort of, for me, stepping out of it and not entering awards was a huge eye-opener, because suddenly I went, this is what it's all about. Both my parents are entrepreneurs, and I really think passionately about the service we provide. In fact, my dad's a restaurateur, and remember when I left school, he said, "What do you want to do?" And I said, "I don't really know. I'm a bit thick. I could do, I could paint and draw." And I remember I got art and woodwork as my exams, and he slightly cryptically said, "Oh, that's good. You can paint a picture of the table you just made." But I remember he said, "I don't want you to get into restaurants because that's my business. I want you to have your own business." The job I do now is no different from the job he did. It's exactly like a restaurant. You create an environment, you provide a good service, you create a good vibe, you get people in, you want them to come back and tell everybody else about how fucking good it was. That's all it is, and this is the service we're in. And the sooner we can snap out of this commodity mindset of everything has a price, creativity is the fucking most important asset to any business, whether it's our business or our client's business. Having smart people solving their problems is essential. For a couple of years where I think the education system here was fucked, too expensive, not good enough. I went to allegedly one of the best colleges in London for teaching advertising, which is still a bit bizarre. And I heard somebody go, "Dave," and I turned around and it was my boss from the 80s, who we used to call Solangeron, because all he ever did was eat lunch. Sadly he's dead now. He's a nice guy, but he wasn't the most inspiring character you'd ever met. Now, he never taught me anything when it was a professional relationship, and then I sat there and think, all right, fast forward 30 years, and he's now teaching a generation of people who are online, have phones, all this modern shit, that he had no idea. All he cared about was getting in and what he was going to eat that day, maybe the glass of wine that he'd have with him. And I was just thinking, what are you going to teach these people? How can you teach the future with the past that's like 50 years the past? It doesn't make any sense. And I think a big part of it is agencies, or creative agencies, understanding that they need to change the product they have, they need to change the staff they have. The minute they do one of those two, it'll affect everything. Because if you change the kind of people you're employing, your product will change. If you think about the product you're creating and the service you provide for your clients, you have to have different people in here who are going to make a difference. And I think it needs to be more entrepreneurial. We need people who understand business. One of the brilliant things I experienced when I first went to the Boulder offices, which is the home base for the CP+B, was it's a huge fucking office. I've never been in an office like it's like an IKEA store. And they have a big banner on the hanging down from this huge ceiling, and it has little boxes for each of the clients, and it said one of them was for Domino's, and it talked about the last time, 20 minutes since the last piece of activity. This is trending, this is the share price, and I walked in there and I thought, wow, as a creative entrepreneur, I was like, wow, these guys really get business. As a client, I went, wow, these guys really get creativity and business. And when you then combine the elephant, you're talking about three things: creativity, business, and culture, and that's the thing, that's the magic triangle. If you hit that sweet spot, it gets amazing. But you need to be entrepreneurs, you need to understand business, you need to understand when a client says, I don't like it and here's why, that he's not being a fucking arsehole. But you have to understand the mindset of your customer, which is your client, because he pays you. And ultimately it's you. This is the role that you guys have, and I think that you're in a unique position because, this sounds stupid, but you're kind of not privileged. You've come here because you want to do this. A lot of people who get into advertising, who go to advertising school, have got money. They're kind of like, the only people who can afford to go to advertising school a lot of the time in the UK are kids of people who work in advertising. We've already got too many of those. We don't need any more of those fuckers. They're the ones who fucked it up in the first place. We need a whole bunch of people who are going to come in and challenge that. I remember when we took over at China Day, Narish and myself, and we just made the most stupid rules that we could, because we thought the Yanks are never going to come over and question us because they don't like traffic. And in London at the time, it was very me Vickers, Tim Delaney, Leeds Delaney. It was all word plays. It was like the theatre. Oh, look at me! I'm so clever with my fucking English language. I'm going to write it all down, and then we'll have our head of art. We'll just draw it up nicely. And we were like, wow, I just don't get this. Hate that language shit, because both of us were effectively foreign. So we just said we're never going to ever hire anybody English again. And it was interesting because you suddenly find yourself, we didn't hire anybody English. We went, I'm half Italian, half Danish, you're Indian, never going to hire any English. And we got rid of all the English people in the creative department. We hired Eric and Johan from Kessel Strain. We got them out of their agency in Holland. And we had a Japanese girl who didn't speak any English. Just being fascinated about what she was saying. She was brilliant. I went on holiday, and then when I came back, she wasn't around, so I don't know what happened. But we had some fascinating people, but it made us more interesting because suddenly you're not talking in that classic language of this is what one says when one does an ad. It was like, it's about fucking ideas. And if you can create ideas that just talk in a different way, I found it totally invigorating. It was great fun as well. Totally stupid, But it was the best thing we ever did. And now we're doing this thing here where we don't hire anybody. I don't hire anybody for advertising. I want to hire people who, Brazil, when you came up here 2 weeks ago. Sorry, I can't remember your name, but you're Brazilian.
Nicole.
So, Nicole. But we had a thing up here, was it about a month ago now? Called the Smart Fuckers program, which is how do we find. I'm not interested in getting people from ad school because they're taught by people like this guy that used to teach me when I was a kid. We want to just hire smart, entrepreneurial, creative-minded people, and so we're working with this company up the road called Future Rising, and they are going to help us identify the top 5% creative entrepreneurs. Now, some of the people were incredible. There were historians, there were people studying politics, mathematics, they were problem solvers. All they wanted to do was solve a problem. We got all these people in here, probably the same amount that are in here tonight. None of them had even met each other before. We gave them a brief, they had an hour to solve it, put them in groups of people they'd never met, and they worked out. And some of the fucking work was incredible. And that's what I want to experience on a daily basis when you're working with teams like that who are thrown in, who can work together. Have the same attitude as you guys, which is you're not going to sit around in the corner and sulk. You can't afford to do that. You're a fucking immigrant. You've got to get in there. You've got to get in people's faces. You've got to look important, look valuable, so that people respect what you're trying to do. These guys were incredible, and it was an amazing experience. And it helped us go, great. These are the kind of people we want, not those kind of people. And I think that's something that you have in your DNA. You're all foreigners. You come here with something different, some extra bit of genetic fizz that has to make you successful. Otherwise, you've got to go back to where you came, and you don't want to do that. But I do ask, what the fuck would you want to be in Brazil? But anyway, that's another story. I think the role you have to play is to be the change and make it better. It's on your head, because I think the ad industry is in this, the UK ad industry is in this real doldrum. It doesn't know what it's doing. It's forgotten its purpose. Make it better. Look at the role that you play. Look at the skills that you have. Look at the extra bit of fucking thing that you have as foreigners and people who are desperate. But you have to fucking make that change, and then use it and make that change and make it better. Because I think, as you said earlier, when we talk about London as a multicultural melting pot, it is. I look at when my dad came over as a restaurateur, the fact that a lot of Italian restaurants started up in the 50s and 60s, they changed the palette of London. And then it invited lots of different. I live in Dalston now, which is it's unbelievable the different experiences you can have. And it makes me feel at home. This is the only time I've ever felt home because I don't feel Danish, English, or Italian because I've had neither. But now I feel very, very European, or I feel comfortable when I'm around other similar sorts of people. But I think it's a really, really important asset that you have to maximise to make the most of what you're doing. Now, whether you choose one day to go back to to where you're from or other countries, once you've got this wanderlust, you've got you can't control it. But I think learn and make London better, because London is not very good. It's not good enough. As I said, it's like it can be a rocket science. I think you apply that to anybody. But I've worked with lots of people who don't do either. They're lazy and fucking antisocial, and it doesn't make for good business. And this is something that I find very important. This is more of a mindset, and you guys are kind of like younger generation than me. But we talk about it a lot, and it was certainly something that I experienced when I was at Child Day and St. Luke's. St. Luke's was absolutely a missionary business, which means it had a bigger mission, which was to make the world a better place. When you look at the mercenary traits, this is from an article book by a guy called John Doerr. It was written about 3 or 4 years ago, and he sort of lists the way that it works with mercenary mentality. This is a very, very male mentality. I think if you look at advertising probably 40 years ago to the last 10, 15 years, it's been very much about this. When you watch Mad Men, it's all about this. It's all about opportunism, paranoia, focus on competitors, wolf packs. It's all about power, control, ego, and motivated ultimately by the lust for making money. And fucking Marty Sorrell absolutely sits in this area. And I don't think makes good business. He creates good business for himself, but I don't think he creates good business for anybody else. Again, scratch that from there. When you look at missionary, they're driven by passion. Think about all the brands that you interact with. Why do you have an Apple phone? Why do you wear Tom's shoes? Why do you do this? Why do you do any of the things that you do? You don't do it because you've been told to do it. You do it because you want to do it. Passion is massively important. Thinking strategically. Going for the long run rather than the sprint. It's about focusing on customers and values, being coaches and mentors. How many times have any of you guys been mentored by anybody in your agency? I remember when I was a kid, it was like somebody would just go, "Oh, you're quite good. Go and do that." And then when you fucked it up, they go, "Oh, you fucked up. You're fired." Nobody ever sat down with you and went, "When you're doing this, how about doing that?" Help you. And especially when you're creative, having somebody that values your talent and then can also nurture you and make you better is really, really important. Obsessed with contribution. All of, again, from my background, the agencies I've ever worked at, it's always about what else can you do. And whilst recognising the importance of money, don't ever be ashamed of making money. You've got good talent. You're only one step down from being a supermodel. Supermodels do fuck all. They're just very, very lucky that they got all the bits in the right places. And all they got to do is turn up, do that or this, and they get paid a lot of money. You're only one step down from that. Being creative, having a talent that allows you to express yourselves and have fun, and then also make a career, it's very, very, it's a great skill. Never be ashamed of making money, but you're still fundamentally driven by the desire to make meaning. I think this is really important. All the agencies I've ever been part of, ones that I've set up and ones that I've worked in, have always had something greater than it's just about the work. It has to be more than that. So it's a personal question. I'm not going to test you, but it's like, what is it that you want to change? I bet every fucking one of you has got an issue, whether you're working now or whether you're still studying, something that you would want to change and make better. Nobody's ever going to fucking change it, especially in this country. We love to sit around and moan about shit. We don't ever like to do anything. It's always like, oh God, fucking hell, let's get in a queue. Just wait. In due course, we'll change it. It won't ever happen. You've got to take it and do it yourself. And sometimes doing it in a small way. As an example, when I went to JWT, when they said, one of the creatives said, what you'll find is all the creatives here are brilliant, but the account people are total idiots, and the planners are idiots as well. And I was like, okay. And I sat down in a meeting and I actually thought, good, so the other way around. I think the creators are really stupid here. Planners are actually really good, but you're just not letting them be good. And then by collaborating, you just create, oh my God, there's a creative that's actually interested in what we've got to say. Well, that's only made the relationship a little bit better. A creative who can listen, who can be taken to a client who's not going to stag the client off, do those little changes, make those little things that will make your work better, but also make your career better, and also make you more valuable to your employer and potential employers. Bless you. And this is what I was talking about earlier. It's about combining the three things that you've got. You have to be hard working if you're an immigrant. If you get caught, you're out. It's a bit of a sweeping statement, but you know what I mean. Those values and then your talent, when you combine it, that's when you get, for me, that's the kind of shit that we're interested in hiring, which is smart people who are good but have conviction and understand what they're trying to do. And ultimately, I said it's not always about the work, but it is about the work. The product that we create as a company is valuable. And this is where, to my lovely little Venn diagram, that explained that as well, about business culture and creativity. I think in UK advertising, we spend so much time worrying about this. And occasionally we might go, let's create something that's viral. Yeah, fucking viral. If I hear that again, I'll kill someone. It doesn't mean anything. And when you combine all three of those, that's where we want to be, because that's when interesting shit happens. And I think of, the best thing I've ever seen, my two favourite case studies are the Domino's case study that was done over here in Boulder by CP+B. It was an amazing case study, how they transformed a company that made really, really bad pizzas into a tech company that makes pizzas on the side, very good pizzas on the side. But also when you look at a brand like Red Bull, that's transformed itself from being an energy drink to an energy brand, and then they could get a guy, throw him out of space, almost kill him, create a huge television moment. He's now been beaten, but no one remembers the other guy, the guy who beat him. It's about that moment. And I think that sits there. That's the kind of shit I want to do. I want to throw a guy out of space. That'd be really cool. It'd be really interesting. But it's like a brand that can do that, rather than let's just do a 30-second ad that uses the guy that shot 300 or uses the guy that lit Gladiator. Who gives a fuck? Do something that's culturally important. And as you see with our flags, we have these banners that we put up. One, because the ceilings were so high, you have to do something. But also, I want it to feel like not a cult, but I want it to feel that when you walk in here, you kind of know what you're supposed to be doing. I've worked in plenty of agencies, and when you walk in, there's no music, you sit in a little box, you do what you're told, there's 6 o'clock clock watching all day long. Here, we try and create an interesting culture and vibe that makes it a more pleasant place to work. And these things, I think, are important. Creativity is the cure. As I said, creativity is the single most important asset to any business, whether it's ours or our clients. They want smart people working on their business. We need smart people working on our clients' business. And when we do that, we're all happy. But it's also not thinking about just advertising. We don't want to be an ad agency, we want to be a creative entity so that we have lots of interesting people, not just, when I say creative, it's not a department, it's not an art director and a copywriter sitting around eating sushi all day long. It's about smart, creative minds who can all work together. And nowadays, I look at you guys, you're pretty multifaceted. In the old days, it was like, I'm an art director, I can just draw. If you ask me to write a word, I'll melt. Whereas now, it's different. You're all fucking doing all sorts of shit. Coder, tech, strategist, whatever, sculpting. And you can bring all of that, but you need to find an environment where you can share all of that. Remember saying the elephant, do, don't say. Stop yakking on about it. Don't create ads that just go out one way, create something that happens. Find a different way of working. You know, we work with a newspaper brand, turn a newspaper brand in a day. We go there and they say, can you do something? And we say, no, but we need 3 weeks to write a brief. They're going to think we're morons. And that's what every agency that's ever worked with them has told them. So we work out, right, we'll answer that in an hour. Now, as a creative person, whether it's you've got 3 weeks or an hour, I'd always prefer to have an hour. It's much more fun. You go nuts. But you can try stuff and you can become much more instinctive. And when you're skilled, when you're good at what you do, when you're creative and you're good at it, thinking quickly is not a problem. And the way we do it is by filling the place full of people who can, you know, most agencies are about thinking, never making, certainly never doing, but it's like we have a high standard, we just want to have it full of people who can make sure we've got a workshop down in the basement that we had built that's for our UX guy and our coders to sit there building platforms. We can actually make this guy's making soap out of his girlfriend's boob. It's another story. It's a great, yeah, it's a good story. To actually create a soap that looks like a boob, so that when you're washing with it, for girls, when you're washing with it, you might think about checking your boobs for lumps. Cute idea, but his poor girlfriend spends all weekend with a boob in a cup of glass. But you know, again, I want us to be able to do that. I want people to come in with an idea and go, fuck, I've had this great idea, rather than going, I don't know what to do with it, so I'm going to write an ad. It's like, fucking work out a way of doing something. It's only about the work. Make it bold, make it matter. Again, not rocket science, but make it something that we can engage with. Has to matter to people. I know we seem to get completely overexcited about, let's make it emotional, let's make women cry, like they do in all the John Lewis ads. Fun. They need shooting those people. Because and now every fucking ad that I see is just like a really good track where they get a girl to play on a guitar in a horrible way. And then try and get something happening in slow motion, so we all think, oh my god, it's really emotional because it's in slow motion. Every fucking ad is the same because of that fucking campaign for John Lewis. But it has to matter in a different way. And we have to strive to work out what a different way that could be. We also have a very strong a-hole free zone. Especially in advertising, which is predominantly white, male, middle class, heterosexual, tends to attract a lot of arseholes. And so we make sure that we have this is the strange fluid moment that we're in this office, which I think is a metaphor for the industry. Is it's all changing, everything's up in the air, no one quite knows what they're doing, and all we're doing is every day finding our way through the darkness, hoping that we'll stumble upon something. I think it just depends. There are ways of doing it in big agencies, and I remember when I went to JWT, it was exactly the same, but it's a long-term process, which is a good experience for you as an individual, as a team, is that you understand your client, you understand the dynamic of collaboration, the way that you work with your staff, the other people that you work with, but also your client. If you're a nice person, God forbid, when you're a nice person, people like you. Yeah? When you're difficult, people don't like you. When you're an arsehole, people really don't like you. Most agencies think my role is to be a shit. You know, when a client says I don't like you, fuck off! You get all aggressive and angry and start throwing things around. It's not about that. You know, we do a thing here. In fact, the meeting I was in earlier, it went really badly, by the way. Was for a new client. We do this workshop where we just come in and we have all the work up on the wall. In fact, when you walked up here, there was another one that's happening tomorrow morning where all the work's up on the wall. So we don't have that dance the seven bells. Welcome to the mystical world of creativity. I'll show you one piece of work. If you don't like it, fuck off. And we'll keep coming back until you buy it. Don't do that. Stick it all up on the wall. And when they walk in and sit there, they see all the work. I love that. But that's something that, you know, a lot of clients get terrified by. I think you've just got to use your experience and work out, and then also work with the team that you have at your disposal. You know, I know the great directors that we can, they're very good. But it depends on the way they've been groomed, it depends on the way that it works. You know, if you like a certain way of working, you're just going to repeat it. Whereas I've always worked in very strange places that had no rules really, which is like, just try it. If it doesn't work, do something different. And if it does work, do something different. Which is a much more fun way of working personally. So then the opportunity is you either got to find somewhere that works the way you want to work, or you do it gradually. And either way works. Actually, I prefer it when you do it gradually because you build a stronger relationship. When the client likes you, understands what you're trying to do, suddenly goes, you know what, God, this fucker, he's not crazy lunatic creative that I've been sold. The creatives are these crazy fucks. He actually really cares about my business. He's asking me all the right questions about my business. But that's how you operate in individual places as well. But don't get disillusioned because it's try and understand what you're trying to overcome. That's what I mean about working out what right and wrong. Work out what you have to try and overcome, and then find other people that really want to do that as well. And just try and do it. If it doesn't work, leave. Go do something else.
Anyone else? I got one more. I got a couple questions. Last one. Over the span of your 30 years, it would be great if, I mean, you told the story about, I think it was the beginning of the sandbox, but Japanese together. But a clear example of a problem that was solved exactly because you had people around you that had different expertise, different backgrounds, different nationalities. Probably it's going to take you a little bit.
No. There were two examples that both happened within a sort of 4 or 5 year period. One was when we were working on IKEA. We were pitching for IKEA. And they came to us and they said, here's the brief, and it's all about, we have really nice coloured furniture. And we all went, okay. And they'd done some ads on it before and it had really caught fire. And the issue in the UK at the time, this is like 20 years ago, was that no one liked colourful furniture. In the UK, it was all about heavy, dark wood. It's a thing called a pelmet. You probably don't even know what that is, but it's over your curtains, which you probably don't even know. Curtains even exist these days. But there used to be a piece of material that would sit above your curtains to make your curtains look nicer. And then your bed, instead of a duvet, would have 12 sheets, 5 blankets, 12 sheets, and then a quilt that your grandmother had made in the 40s. And then you had on the work surface that your mum had given you or your grandmother had donated you when you moved house. Big,
How long ago was that?
Up until the 60s and 70s. And the 80s probably. And then you'd have a nice wooden work surface that or a table that or a sideboard that your grandmother had given you, and because you love your grandmother, you can't throw it out, so you have to have it. And all of a sudden, you've got this big fucking wooden thing that you can't stand, and the sofa you have to get has to go with that because you can't get rid of that because you love it. And it's like, God. And then they come along and say, yeah, we make lovely coloured furniture, but it's a huge psychological upheaval that you've got to get through. So we did a thing called Chuck Out the Chintz, and it was all about turning it into a song, talking about how shit the furniture is, how shit it is. Doilies, which again you won't know what they are, but it's a little lace thing you just put around and you put things on it. And it was all, in our opinion, the doily is the one thing that's held woman as a concept. It's held woman back. It's this fucking thing that you keep harking back to the past. And so we were all the team were Swedish, obviously with IKEA. All the rest of the team at St Luke's were all pretty much all foreign, except for the planner actually. And he was the one who said, there's no point in saying this because every time you say that, you're just wasting your money. You need to go back, have a Pol Pot moment where you just smash everything and then start again. And you have to talk in a different language. And we had this kind of this Chuck Out the Chintz moment. And it was kind of interesting because it was strategic, creative. And the clients went, yeah, we didn't really understand why every time we went out and said we got nice coloured furniture, everybody knows that. We just talk about it like it's fashion. But when you put every month, you come in and throw different things around, change colours, try something like your wardrobe. And it happened to coincide with the way that women's fashion was completely changing. It went from being 50 quid for a t-shirt, 150 quid for a dress in Primark. Just go down there and for 220 quid you can get 5 outfits. You throw them away the following day, doesn't matter. So there was a kind of disposability that tapped into that. And I think that was a very collaborative experience. We had about 7 or 8 people working on that with the client very closely, who were all Swedish, German, Danish, really, really interesting dynamic. And then from that, we did another thing, which was this poster we did for the anti-war march, which was this Make Tea Not War. We had a picture of Tony Blair with a teacup on it, said "Only a gun." And we knew that everybody was against the war, and we knew that everyone was going to do these very po-faced, angry, our blood on your hands, and don't attack Iraq, and like really shit ads. And we just thought, why don't we just have a bit of fun? And we did it with a Welsh writer and a couple of other creators who were very foreign. It was just, nothing to do with anything, it was just a bit of stupidity. We had no idea it was ever going to get on the front page of the papers, but it's just, let's just have a laugh. And the first one was, why go to war when you go to Wales? But it was too long. And so we just said, Make Tea Not War, and it was just the most idiotic thing. But because it was stupid, and it just thought about it in a different way, think off brief. But it was sort of driven by a kind of almost a foreign naivety, which I think sometimes, or an idealism, which is the attitude rather than, yeah. But they're the two most. I mean, we have a whole bunch of others, but they were the two most.
Well, yeah.
One last
one.
One last.
Yeah.
Any comment about the Brexit campaign?
I'll tell you what. I was just really confused. I'm like probably 95% of the people here. I didn't think it was ever going to happen. I was away as well. So my missus voted. My wife is English, and she was like, yeah, I'm going to vote to get out. And I'm like, why are you doing that? And it's because, I don't know. And then you sort of sit down and you talk about it, and then she goes, oh my God! That's what it means! And I didn't even know what it meant, but I just thought, oh yeah, how can you fucking say you want to be out of Europe when you're married to a European? And for me it was very personal again, because I don't feel Italian, Danish or English. I feel like a mongrel that's trying to land somewhere. My kids probably feel very English now, but I never have. And so the European thing was really important to me. Then I had a conversation with my stepmother, who's English, and she's married to my dad. And she went, oh yeah, you voting on that Brexit thing? And I was like, fuck yeah. I fucking get very angry about it, and I'm voting. And I suddenly thought, oh God, you're voting Brexit. I said, why? And she says, I don't like the idea of all these Turkish immigrants running around. And I went, did you just fucking say that? Seriously? Because you're fucking married to one. She went, yeah, he's Italian. In the 60s, he was as dirty as anybody else. I was called a dirty wop, guinea, everything when I was a kid growing up. Just because it happens to be the Turks or the Albanians or whatever it is, this year's model. It's like, don't forget, you married one. I think there was so much confusion. Also in London, we're in a complete bubble. We haven't got a clue what's going on outside. And so all of this stuff was just fetid bullshit and nonsense. And it was all politicians who were all trying to stab each other in the back. I mean, you look at that bunch of arseholes who stitched us all up, got us to, and then they all ran away the minute the vote came. And when they all need beating with sticks in front of all of us. I just find the whole thing stunning. I've got no respect for any politician. I don't ever vote because I think they're all lying bullshitters. I just think it's like you've just got to keep your face clean and go about your own business. I think it's really, really sad. I still have no idea what it means. Because I've heard so many different people telling me what it means and what it will, but I feel like we're missing out. I think we are better when we work together, when we have a group of people. It feels I am European, and suddenly saying, I don't feel that I'm going to get chased out, I have to go live somewhere else.
From a creative point of view, the Remain Leave campaign.
I didn't see any of them. I mean, I think it's all po-faced. It's like just advertising. I mean, this is like beyond advertising. This is something much bigger than that. And when they're doing sort of political ads, that fucking thing with the bus. 350 million every day we're going to give back to the NHS, and then the day after they go, what about that money? Are you going to give it? No. They should have stopped it, and they should have hung him on television. Hung him. Put it on Channel 4, that would have been good viewing. I just think it's like, this is bullshit, this is all advertising bullshit. Everything I saw, and they've been talking about, when you're pulling the pin out of the grenade. Like, really? I think it's a little bit more complicated than that. The best story I've heard of it is the guy the CEO here, Michael Richard Pinder, who's lived in Asia. He ran the Publicis network out of Paris for 10 years. And he did the day of the result, when everyone was in shock here, and again, nobody knew what was going to happen. It's a bit like seeing a spacecraft appear, and you think, that bit in Independence Day when you go, is it good or bad? And the light comes out and you go, oh, fuck. Nobody knows. But he did a very good analysis of it, which is uncertainty can sometimes be as bad as bad. Because nobody knows. So suddenly investments are going to stop and then the bank's going to have to step in and they have to change. I don't know, I mean, I looked at all of those ads and I don't think they were just ads. They really got to the bottom of anything, but I think it was always the wrong brief as well. It was all such bullshit. I just wish they'd turn the clock back and just go, seriously guys, think about what you've just done. Because it was, I don't know, again, I think we're in a weird situation where we all feel global, but we're also in London, which is a very global city, and there are probably maybe 10 of those on Earth that are genuinely local, New York, Paris, you know the other ones, but it's like that genuinely feel that they have a global. And that's what life is much more interesting when you're like, but if you're in a farmhouse in Leeds, and you don't like the idea of a bunch of namby-pamby southerners making all the rules for you, or you don't like the idea of somebody in Brussels making rules, it's like, fuck off. Well, out. And you've got every right to do that. But, I don't know. What was the question? Is Brexit a good thing, or was it, what did I think of the ads?
The ads.
I thought they were both bad. It's a bad thing, and the ads were, they just weren't, there was nothing that made me think, oh yeah, that's going to work. A little bit trivial.
Cool. Guys, they were just a couple of last notes. There you go. Next month we're not going to have the usual meetup. Probably thinking about having something more informal, like maybe at the park or something like that. Just a bit different because it's summer. A lot of us will be out. And
No, it's not summer. Summer happened last week.
Yeah,
Today, yeah.
but hopefully it will be good enough for us to do something different, and then we'll come back on September with the same format, and hopefully with a different set of creatives and speakers, because yes, we've started out with our own close networks and relatives and friends, and we're all a bunch of bad people, but the whole idea of the international creatives is to be way much more than just app people. So we're looking to have writers or sculptors or musicians or ballet dancers or whatever to just come and talk to us and inspire all of us to just create better work, better, more intricate global human work. That's one. The second thing is, if you haven't yet, please register your ticket with Sylvia, because otherwise you won't get your forfeit back.
We get forfeit.
Yeah, it pays for us. And yeah, thanks for coming.